Welcome to Tommy Solo's Famous Friends. This is a special in performance with episode featuring Sandy Gillis, aka comedian Jimmy the Janitor. Welcome to the show, Sandy.
How's she going there, Tommy? Good to see you.
Well, it's going all right, eh? So, we are here to talk about your comedy act and upcoming shows and so on. So this is hence the in performance with theme. Now, going way back, you started out in radio in 1968 and you spent 52 years slugging away doing that from the time you were a teenage radio jock and on. So that must have been pretty exciting. And I understand that's how you ultimately ended up getting into comedy as well.
Right. Comedy was later on in my 30s, but back when I was 18, I was in high school, had a chance to do radio. It was great, great for meeting young ladies. And so I proceeded down that road and spent, as you mentioned, 52 years in one form or another. I was in corporate radio as an owner operator up until 1995, and then retired and opened up a production house which created funny commercials for clients across the country. And at that point, Jimmy was already established. Jimmy is a comedy character from Cape Breton who was on our radio stations. We had 9, and then eventually we pumped Jimmy out to 90 markets across the country, which gives me as a comedian markets to perform in. And you know what it's like, Tommy, when radio gets behind something you're doing. And that's what they did here. They carried my show, which was a 60-second live hit every morning, live to tape. So we did it week by week. And that show opened up theater opportunities. So we do about 50 shows a year, 2 hour stand up. Jimmy by himself, and it's a maritime comedy show. You don't have to know anything about the Maritimes to get all the humor because it's written so that you don't have to know anything. It's just the accent and the character. And so I've had a fabulous second career, and it continues, and hope to do it for another decade or so.
Well, that's awesome. Now, just to be
Yeah.
clear, if I were to call to book Jimmy the Janitor, you're
Yep.
not actually going to show up and clean my basement.
I will not clean the basement. I am for entertainment purposes only.
Okay. All right. So the broom is and mop, whatever you bring, is just a prop. Okay. All
It's
right.
it's all for show. Yeah, no,
Uh,
I'm a pretty corporate guy with a really fun hobby, and so in this day and age, I do shows by myself. But every couple of years, I team up with my partner in crime, a young guy like myself who lives in Moncton. He's the artistic director at the Capitol Theater in Moncton. We've known each other since about 1998. And every couple of years, we write a show for our characters, Jimmy the Janitor and his character, Lucien. And Lucien is a fictitious former pulp mill worker from Dalhousie, New Brunswick. He has a bit of a French accent. It's really he's got a great character, and together Jimmy the caper and Lucien the North Shore New Brunswick mill worker, we meet up on stages in New Brunswick and Ontario and do this show. We have a new show coming up called A Short History of Nuttin, and it's basically Jimmy trying to promote to his friend Lucien that you can be far more used to the economy by doing nothing than by doing something. And he brings Jimmy into his failing bar in Dalhousie. He gets laid off. He opens a bar, but you're not getting a lot of people who are actually, they're all moving away. And he's trying to make this bar work. And so he sees on television that if you put a brick wall up in your bar and get someone to tell, he said, and come in and tell the joke, my God, they come in, and by the thousand they come in. So anyway, he does that, and Jimmy shows up on set in the club, and so I do. Jimmy does stand up 3 times in the show. Lucian does his monologues, which are somewhat political, and then we have 4 crossover pieces in the show that put us together. And so it's worked for years. You know, we did a thing called 50 Shades of Comedy, which was back, checking my cheat sheet here. When did we do that? 2013. And then we did Fort Mac Attack, about 2 down and out comedians from the East Coast heading to Fort Mac to make our fortune, and the bottom falls out of the industry, and we spent the whole show trying to get home. And then 2017, we did Full of Beans, which was a contest that Jimmy entered to attempt to win a big prize, and we had to collect bean cans. And so I did fundraising shows. You brought a can of beans to get in, so we'd have more labels to enter. It was, you know, a simple process or concept, but it was a funny show. And so we're back out there after the pandemonium, as Jimmy calls it, with our short history of nothing, and looking forward to starting on September 27th.
Awesome.
Which is our birthdays. Sandy and Marshall Button and myself were both born on September 27th.
Cool. Now, let me get this straight. So you actually had shows where you'd bring a can of beans to get in to watch a couple of guys exude hot air.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There was a lot of those jokes in the show. And you didn't get into our actual show with a can of beans. It actually required a ticket. But
okay.
But the can of bean shows, you know, were what Jimmy was doing at the local legions to get people to bring cans of beans so we'd have more entry forms. And so we did win something, but it wasn't the big prize. And anyway, it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, let's, speaking of shows, let's take a pause here and go to the comedian, Jimmy the Janitor.
All right. I can't wait. Okay.
From the Waterfront Warehouse in Halifax, Nova Scotia, it's the Halifax Comedy Fest. With Jimmy the Janitor. He's performed on stages all across Canada and the U.S. Sandy Gillis as Jimmy the Janitor.
Good to see you all, boy. Nice to be here. I do this talking all across the country now, and I love it. The problem is to travel, boy. I'm in the air 2 or 3 times a week, and I gotta tell you, I'm scared to death of flying, dear. Now, a buddy of mine, Binky Beliveau, said, hey, don't be scared of flying, boy. Stewardesses fly all the time. I said, yeah, but you never see an old one, do you? They don't make it, boy. I said, if it's all the same to you, Binky, I'm gonna take the train. He said, you think the train is safer? I said, yeah. He said, did you hear about the big train wreck over in India? 400 people seriously killed? I said, no. I said, what happened? He said, a plane fell on them, boy. You gotta watch for the signs, eh? Like you drive out to the airport, what's the first thing you see? Big sign that says, terminal. Yeah. Flying can be, but so then you go through the beep beep lie detector, right? You get on the plane, you get seated. What's the first thing they start doing? They start getting you ready for a crash. Stewardesses says, now, if the plane gets a hole in it, the oxygen mask will fall down here. Now, is it just me, or is that little tube really attached to anything? Like, where does the oxygen come from up there, bud? An oxygen angel or something? You know, I don't think it's an oxygen mask. I think it's more to muffle the screams, right? Then the stewardess says, now, if the plane falls in the water, you can use your seat cushion as a flotation device. Now I'm sitting at the airport in Moncton, eh? Excuse me, stewardess, but like, how much water, say, between Moncton and Toronto, dear? None. I want a seat cushion that bounces off the top of trees, please. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm Jimmy the Janitor. Good night.
Oh,
There you
God.
go, Jimmy the Janitor.
That was hilarious. Oh man. Oh boy. I can't wait to see what you guys are up to next.
Well, a short history of nothing, and we make a lot out of nothing. So
Yeah, no
that's
doubt.
coming up. We start, by the way, in uppity Canada at the Upper Canada Playhouse in Morrisburg. We run from October 17th to the 22nd. That's for people up in your neck of the woods. And we do roughly 10 shows a week. So some days we do a 2 and a 7:30. So it's a busy week. And so I've been in training camp since July 26th, just to get in shape for this show. Like, I take the summer off, but you need a lot of wind and energy, and I lost 10 pounds so I could fit into my costume. So we're all good.
I'm curious now. You talk about trying to work out to be ready. I mean, how do you work out your funny bone? That's got to be a
Well, yeah.
drop the elbow from the top rope, or
The main thing is don't hit it anywhere. Just don't bang. But top rope is good. Yeah. I never managed to get into what we call Grand Prix wrestling down in the Maritimes, but anyway, we both try to get in enough shape so that we can do 2 shows a day when we have to. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people don't understand that being a comedian isn't that much unlike being a singer. You most likely, I'm assuming, you do your vocal warm-ups and so on ahead of the show.
Yeah, no, I'll run some stuff. I'm in the dressing room and I'm running the first couple of segments of the show just to get my mind going. And I've had to do basically running on the spot and a few things just to pump up my energy. Just because sometimes you set up and then you're in the dressing room for an hour, and so you see the clock ticking down to 7:30. You start getting active and power walking up and down the hallways behind the stage just to get up. Not that you're doing it, some people walk because they're nervous, but when you've been at it as long as I am, it's a matter of getting up for the show. And you want to be out there and firing on all cylinders, because it is a rapid fire show. We do 2 45-minute sets, take a break and come back. And it has been said, and I'm trying to think of the guy who said this, that doing even a play in a Broadway play where you're interacting with other people is like doing an 8-hour job. It takes a lot out of you. Now, when you're on the stage by yourself for 90 minutes, it's a lot of work because you're constantly thinking and talking and punching and boom, 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 boom. And there's no walking around thinking about what you're going to say. It's all well written, rehearsed. And, it has to look like you're just sort of expounding upon what, is in the back of your head. But, the thing is recorded, tested, parts are deleted, you relearn. I did see Seinfeld, in an episode where he puts the tape machine at the back of the room, and some girl gives him a conversation to remember, but he's got that tape machine back there to hear his new stuff. And I have an iPhone in my pocket all the time, and all the new features are all rated at a 10. So if you do a new bit and you've got 9 off the top and a 10, every punchline, then you get an 8, then you're back to 10, then you go 4, 4, 5. You think, okay, that segment's got to come out. You give it 2 shows, and if it doesn't get better, then you take it out, relearn the set, and That's how it goes.
It ain't just fun and games, and there's a lot
Ain't
of
fun.
work.
It's big business, and people say, well, you only work, and then Jimmy said, geez, but I only work 2 hours a day. It's like I'm on a grant from the government, right? But I work 7 days a week. Really, I'm in my office now out in Stanhope, Prince Edward Island, which is a beautiful spot, and my office overlooks the bay, and I'm here in the office usually 7 days a week doing something. Like I may come up here and write, and then we go off for a bike ride, or we have something else to do in the weekends. But my bride and I are busy people, and we have things on the go, and then we're taking off on a week's vacation next week, and sort of a rest before the tour, and so we enjoy it immensely. Going to do it for a long time. I used to meet up with Dave Broadfoot and I did shows together. I don't know if you know Dave from the Royal Canadian Air Force.
Oh yeah.
First show I did with Dave, he was 76, I was 45. And no, he was 69, I was 45. And I said, oh my God, 69 years old and you're still doing comedy. Wow. The next show I did, he was 76, and we were in a comedy festival together. And so I thought I can do this forever. And then Don Heron and I used to meet up every summer here in PEI at a barbecue we were both invited to. And he would, he did his last show when he was 87. And I thought, that's good. So these guys are inspirations to me. And you stay fit, stay sharp, keep drilling those roads through your brain as you learn stuff. You're never going to get the part-timer's disease if you keep thinking and driving those roads through your brain, right?
That's
My
right.
brain is well exercised, so that's good as you get older.
Absolutely. So you're going to take a little vacation, and then when you come back, where are you starting out on the road?
Well, we're starting the History of Nuttin tour in Dalhousie, New Brunswick, which is Marshall Button's hometown. It's always a fabulous hometown audience. We start all our shows there and work our way through northern New Brunswick. We go down to Bathurst, to Miramichi, go to Moncton. We're doing all the theaters, and then we head up to Fredericton and the beautiful Playhouse, up to Florenceville, Woodstock area, up that way, Bristol, theater up there. And then we head to Morrisburg from there, and we have 2 days to get ready for that show there. And then after that, the bride is flying in, and we're heading off to the eastern townships of Quebec for another week's vacation. There's an author named Penny, Louise Penny, and my wife loves her books. And so we're going to go through Quebec and follow the books and enjoy the restaurants, the bistros in Quebec City, and then come back. And it's November, and I'll have shows in the West and Christmas shows out there. So it's been a good year.
Well, it sounds like it has, and it's going to be even better. And, you're sounding like a walking tourism commercial there. So I think that might be another character for you if you put.
Well, I'm a Cape Bretoner, and we're going to Cape Breton next week around the Cabot Trail. Beautiful. And I live in Prince Edward Island because that's where the bride is from. And she chased me till I caught her. So I moved here, and we have a charmed existence. The office, I have a studio in the basement. We don't have to go anywhere. We have a generator. So no matter what hurricane you send our way, we're still going to be here.
Still laughing and rolling on the couch. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Sandy.
Laughter is the best medicine. Laughter is the best medicine, unless you have diarrhea.
That's right. Yeah. All right, Sandy. Listen, thanks so much for doing this with me again. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers.
Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a one-man production, meaning that I've done all the work, including recording, editing, guest acquisition, etc. And hey, here's some news. We've just recently joined forces with 519 magazine, so you can check out my interviews there as well. The theme song for Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a clip from my original composition, The Burn, all rights reserved. If you enjoy the show and you'd like to help us keep it going, why don't you click on the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. We really appreciate it. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, cheers.